Blizzard has leaked Midnight's final patch. Now, we're going to get into this here. 12.2, what it looks like, the World Core coming back into effect here. Let's see where this story's going as we head into the end of Midnight from Bellular here.
Here's the deal with this video. Blizzard actually put a thing from patch 12.2 into the PTR build of 12.1 accidentally, and it effectively confirms where we're going next. That's what we're going to be dealing with today, but it makes no sense if you don't know where we're at with the story right now. So here's where we're at, right? Xal'atath ends up corrupting the Sunwell. That forces the March and Quel'Danas raid.
Right.
We go there, we fight hard enough, but it ends up not being enough. Yes, there's that last-minute intervention from Sylvanas, but we can see that Xal'atath disappears into the floor, and she seems fairly happy about it. But of course, given the end of the Voidspire raid, we also know that Illyria, Turalyon, and most of the Light's Vanguard got shot down into the Darkwell.
I actually forgot that Illyria and Turalyon fell into the Darkwell. I don't know why. That completely slipped my mind. So we are going to see them again at some point. I do think Illyria is still alive. Yeah, she got dagger punched right in the back. But, you know, she's surrounded by the Army of the Light. I'm sure they can heal her.
Well, wherever that may be. Now, when all is said and done, and we cleanse the Darkwell, we can talk to Magister Umbric, and we get some speculation from him as to where our characters have went. But for reasons I can't understand, none of the other characters in the story really asked what the hell just happened. Now, of course, you may know what's just happened if you're someone who's been deep into the lore of the War Within. If you're like that, you probably know that Xal'atath and all those other characters are going to the World Core.
Yeah.
The World Core is Azeroth's Titan-constructed prison. So, if that was your guess, then congratulations, you were absolutely right.
Yeah, Clarmidia says spoilers, you muppet. I don't really think this is spoilers. I mean, we've been talking about going back to the World Core since the War Within, so it's not a shocker to me that that's where we're heading. If you didn't know, big spoiler, Azeroth's World Soul is going to be involved in the end of the story here. So I don't really consider this video to be a spoiler necessarily. We're just kind of, you know, looking at how maybe we're going to get there. He doesn't have the exact details, I'm sure of it, not because I pre-watched, but because I read all the articles out there, and nobody yet has talked about a leak where it literally says how this is going to end. So he's probably going to speculate a lot here.
As confirmed by a leak. So, a major patch 12.2 renowned faction has just been data mined straight out of the game build, and it is the confirmation that we've been looking for. This new faction is called the Radiant Core, and it's a faction.
This is the leak. This is the shocker, right? This is the spoiler. It's not a spoiler. The Radiant Core. Okay, yeah. Oh, we're going back to the core.
Another death knight.
Malden Brewski. Sam, why are you...
Sam, why are you this? This is a spoiler to you until you kill LRUA in the last Titan.
It's not a spoiler. No, it's not a spoiler. We'll be fine. I'm going to kill Lura, that bitch, today.
Faction that will...
By the way, I've already killed Lura. I know. I've seen the cinematic. I'm just trying to kill her on Heroic today. That's all.
Lock together the deepest lore of the World Soul saga.
Bitch.
And basically give us, in this video, an easy way to wrap all of the story all into one thing.
Thank you for the sub.
We're going to be dealing with Azeroth Awakening, what Belladar was about in the last expansion, and why the Titan's return may not be a great thing for everyone involved. Now, to be clear, you've probably seen the two videos that we've done on the channel about the big World of Warcraft slate leak. Well, it's a Warcraft franchise leak. To be very clear with you, this video has nothing to do with that. This is purely based on what's been confirmed with the Radiant Core faction, okay? So that's what we're going to do, and trust me, it's quite the story. Now, one thing I worry about running this channel is, frankly, getting pwned. Running two YouTube channels means my face is public, my work is public, which is obviously the deal I signed up for.
True.
Does, though, mean that the old home address, phone number, family stuff, that, you know, that is a little bit more exposed to risk. And the thing is, if you've ever plugged your own name into Google, well, you've probably seen the likes of those icky, horrible people search sites. The ones that list ages, relatives, previous addresses, phone numbers, all bundled up into a neat little profile that anyone motivated enough can just go and pull.
Oh, weird.
That's not good, and that is where Incogni, today's sponsor, comes in. You see, I have to assume that loads of data brokers have got my details, and that is enough for me to stop treating any of this stuff like I've got any privacy by default. because with the internet, I don't think I really
Yeah, I
do.
agree.
Now, what
Bellular's hair has
Incogni
been
does
looking
is it
better.
finds the data brokers
Cyclone.
holding your
Looks like the
personal
hair
information.
implant worked.
It
I'm going to have
sends
to go to the guy
removal
he
requests
went
on your
to.
behalf and keeps monitoring
Definitely.
because this stuff genuinely does creep back. Now, my own dashboard shows 296 completed removal requests and an estimated 222 hours saved, which is the bit I would like. Because it's not theoretical. It's miserable admin work that Incogni has actually been doing, and if I'm honest with myself,
Wonderful.
I have the legal right to get my stuff taken down. Can I be bothered to?
Can't skip the
No.
ad.
Nobody likes doing paperwork. That's why Incogni's coming in with
You got to get
value.
Incogni.
So, if you go to incogni.com/bellularwarcraft and you use code bellularwarcraft, good news is you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
Wow.
With that said,
Amazing.
let's go back to somewhere a bit more secure. Azeroth. The Radiant Corps is the new renowned faction for patch 12.2, a bit like, say, Zul'Jara's forces in 12.1 or the Goblin cartels in patch 11.1. They're going to be the driving force of the patch as a faction. That'll mean a reputation to grind and rewards to get. But of course, factions like this are a vehicle for the story. And this one may not mean a lot at first glance. Radiant Corps. Well, we know that Azeroth is singing what the game calls a radiant song, so guess it's World Soul stuff. But let me go deeper and tie together all the dots for you, because in reality, Blizzard have been setting up this faction since the first plot beats of the War Within expansion.
The Radiant Sam, yeah. A bunch of Earthen, maybe? Yeah, I would assume this is going to be some Earthen faction. And we'll probably go back to the core way, which I used to call Azeroth's anus. That's what it was, probably. And it's basically going back to the core way, getting to the world core, because when Xal'atath went down into the what is the Void Well at the time, now it's the Dawn Well. She went down in there. That's surely where she was going. She was going down to the Void Core, the World Core, whatever the fuck they're calling it. So she's down there. We're going to have to get down there. Also, the Army of the Light, a lot of them are probably down there because they got sucked in at the same time. So that's definitely where this next couple patches are going to go.
So I want you to think back.
Or 12.2
Magni,
will eventually
still
go.
a diamond, turned up to Khazalgar, and he was called a Thragar by the local Earthen. Now, at first, all we had known is that Thragar was some sort of word for an ancient and honorable warrior. But once we got our greasy adventurer hands on Khazalgar's archives and farmed endless data-encoded Titan disk fragments for our weekly quests, we ended up finding the truth. And it went all the way back to the Titan's most fundamental mission on Azeroth. So very foundational stuff. So here goes. During the Ordering of the World, the Titan Keeper Arcadus was instructed to build something called the Core Way. Essentially, a big road down from the surface of the world to the World Soul. And this was built because below the surface, they found
the anus
a
I was talking about.
primordial being. Not a Titan, to be clear, something that we would now call a World Soul, and something that the Titans would call Azeroth. But there was a bit of a problem when they looked down there. Of course, the old god's corruption had been too great.
Right.
Now, if you're a little bit confused in the timelines, basically Azeroth used to be entirely encrusted with old god empire, and the whole thing that went down when the Titans arrived is
N'Zoth's return, too, that's all but guaranteed at this point. N'Zoth coming back, that's going to happen. What he comes back in, what form, who knows? But yeah, he's definitely returning. And I can't wait, because I thought N'Zoth was awesome, and I thought the way we kind of killed him was kind of anticlimactic, so I'd like to see him come back.
they basically made a big army and claimed the planet for themselves. But even though the Titans and their minions won the surface war, the big problem is that by then, Azeroth had already been greatly corrupted and damaged. Now, a bit of a plan was hatched by some of our Titans. You see, the Titan Aenar planted the world tree called Aluna here, whose roots wove around the sleeping World Soul's cradle. And in doing that, it seems she actually created what we see in the Harrendar zone today. Now, this began to heal the World Soul. It seemed like a good thing. But Aman'Thul, the leader of the Titans, basically thought that all of this world tree business represented risk and chaos, so he tore it out. Remember, the Titans are all about nice, lovely, ordered things. So something like a world tree with roots going everywhere, well, it's a bit like a tree in your local town or city that can destroy the pavement or the road, so the council comes and rips it out. It's a little bit like that. Yes, the Titans are your local council. Anyway, Aman'Thul instructed the Titan Keepers to build an installation at the heart of the world. This installation would be called the World Core.
It's a jail. That's what it is. It's a prison. And that's why, Sylvanas, supposedly Zoval saw this in some vision or something. He knew it. And that was why Sylvanas kept drawing that line out. This world is a prison. And that's because, our world is in a prison. Our world soul is stuck inside this core way prison thing. And that's why this is the image that we're seeing here, whatever this is. Chris Metzen didn't write N'Zoth, did he? Well, N'Zoth is a Chris Metzen character. Yeah, he created him. But yeah, he's definitely inspired by H.P. Lovecraft stuff. If you ever seen that guy's work, obviously, it's straight out of there.
It would heal Azeroth, but conveniently, it would also let Aman'Thul transform Azeroth into the perfect Titan, so that basically she could wake up as a Titan, as one of them. Now, once constructed, they put the World Soul inside, and they basically believed the job was done. They could just go, attend to their other business, and the World Core would do its job, and then Azeroth would wake up one day. But of course, we've long known that Titan facilities very much can't stop the influence of old gods leaking in.
Right.
We've been to Ulduar, we've been to many other ones, right? But it turns out that's not the only way the Titan's machines were imperfect, and that's because they struggled to stop Azeroth herself. Though, of course, Azeroth is not her real name, and we'll get to that later.
Even the beings that were building all these Titan facilities, all these dwarves that become Thragar, like these diamond, jeweled out dwarves, they become Thragar as they're building these core ways and stuff for the Titans. But whenever they get close to Azeroth, she starts influencing them and whispering to them, and that's what Thragar are. Thragar are earthen that got converted kind of by Azeroth. That's what that whole thing did. They're dildos? Yeah, well, that too. You mean, but he didn't do the most recent stuff. You're talking about Chris Metzen? No, he didn't. Chris Metzen did not write the BFA story. Yes, that is true.
But what actually happened is this.
He was gone
Although sleeping, and essentially in a form of stasis within the World Core, the World Soul wasn't happy about being locked up, and she began singing a song. The Earthen, then, who were building the Coreway, heard this song, and many of them were transformed. They turned into diamond, they gained free will, and they devoted themselves completely to Azeroth, completely to the World Soul. And because the World Soul didn't like being locked up, they turned their tools against the World Core. They rebelled, forcing the Keeper Arcadis to personally intervene.
Yeah, this is why free will and everything seems to be a gift from Azeroth. And at the same time, the old god Curse of Flesh was a free will granting gift to humans and dwarfs and gnomes, right? Which is why a lot of times I've said, well, maybe Azeroth influenced the old gods to do the Curse of Flesh. Maybe that's what ended up happening, because those old gods were inside the planets too. Maybe they could hear the Radiant Song. Maybe Azeroth eventually influenced them to do some things that would help her out. Anything with free will helps her out because it's like anti-Titan. Titans are all orderly. You can't have free will and ultimate order because free will is kind of unpredictable. So that's one of my theories I've always said. It's like Curse of Flesh wasn't really a bad thing. It gave us free will. Maybe Azeroth kind of influenced the old gods to do that.
And in that intervention, many Thragar were destroyed, and the rest basically had their minds wiped. And then, to stop it happening again, the Earthen were given memory gems, which would be wiped out periodically so that Azeroth's influence couldn't build up. So that's what was going on with all those weird memory gems that you may have seen the Earthen have in the War Within expansion. Right. Now, let's get back to our story. Long after the Titan Keepers lost their grip on Azeroth, the World Soul continued to sing, slowly giving the Earthen on the surface a bit more free will, and likely transforming those in the World Core once again into Thragar. Perhaps into the Radiant Core. Because now it's time to talk about whatever the hell the Radiant Core is. We don't exactly know, but it's obviously something to do with the World Soul. And if you put together all the little puzzle pieces, the idea of a faction of radical free will diamond Earthen does kind of make sense. I mean, in the War Within expansion, we literally...
I wonder if we get to these guys and then Blizzard unlocks like a customization feature for Earthen that allow you to make diamond, like looking Earthen for character customization stuff. Because right now Earthen are like the least played race in the game. So yeah, maybe an extra customization might make more people make them.
We heard about how these Earthen fought the Titan Keepers, and they tried to basically break the world core. Though, of course, this time, someone rather different is going to the world core, and that is Xal'atath. What we'll deal with in patch 12.2 is the culmination of everything Xal'atath has worked toward. From the fateful day she decided to turn on Dimensius by destroying Koresh, to every mortal she has corrupted throughout the ages, every stolen body and every old god bargained with. It has all been leading up to this one point. You see, Azeroth has the power to make Xal'atath basically the most powerful being in the entire setting.
Yeah, even more importantly, to make her immortal. And I think that's what she's ultimately chasing. She's talked about survival being like the #1 thing that people should pursue. And I mean, what better way to survive than to become immortal? So I think that's really what she's chasing, is immortality. And she thinks the world soul of Azeroth could somehow get her there.
That pretty much goes without saying. But what does need considering, however, is Xal'atath's proven record for stealing power. You see, through the Void, she consumed her way to the top, using the Black Blade that we were first introduced to in the Legion expansion as a bit of a vessel. But of course, in Battle for Azeroth, she gains a body, in Dragonflight, she gains the Dark Heart, and basically spends a while sucking all the cosmic energy into the Dark Heart that she basically could. This all seemed dramatic and threatening, but we didn't exactly know what her end goal was. What was Xal'atath actually doing? Is she literally just here to waggle her toes and aura farm for a bit? Well, most people didn't know. We probably thought it had something to do with Azeroth, and of course now we know that Xal'atath has basically busted into Azeroth's prison, likely via ley lines. It's the sort of thing that is all but confirmed when you analyze the lore from the War Within through to what actually happens in-game. Now, this is all bad news for the denizens of Azeroth, and it reminds me of Chris Metzen's big warning that in Midnight, we would lose our fight against Xal'atath. Now that may seem a bit weird to you because it kinda looks like we won in 12.0, right? Yeah, the Darkwell was a thing, but it's no longer the Darkwell. We managed to purify it. Yep. Well, the reality could actually be something darker still, because all that 12.0 stuff is basically just Xal'atath getting her way into where she wants to go. But
yeah, she doesn't give a shit about any of this. I mean, we did this. Okay, great. Wow, that's amazing. She don't give a shit. She already used it to get what she wanted. She wanted to turn it into a portal into the core way, or into the Azeroth's world soul. That's what she did. She accomplished it. She doesn't care if we shut the door behind her. What the hell's the point of that? So again, this was like a W after the game. It's like scoring a goal after the ref blew the final whistle. Who gives a shit?
Where she wants to go. But there is still hope, and there's more going on in the World Core than the Thragar and the Titan defenses that we kind of already know about. And that's because nearly all of the Light's Vanguard, along with Illyria and Turalyon, were taken into the Darkwell. Now think about it. Minus casualties from the initial conflict, and the handful who escaped with Umbric or were left in Silvermoon, the rest of the Light's Vanguard are now in the World Core, we must presume. All those dudes who teleported in at the beginning of the expansion ended up being sucked into the Darkwell, and of course we know the Darkwell was being used by Xal'atath to get to the World Core. That likely means they're down there as well, maybe being led by Turalyon. So forget the idea of it being just a ragged band of desperate paladins in the Edge. No, it is a organized force of powerful light users, basically a pocket army that is just waiting for us to show up, being led by Turalyon, who, because of timey-wimey bullshit, has, spent 1,000 years at war. And he's looking pretty good for that. But enough of him. Now, let me put on my wild speculation hat for just a second. We saw light blindness in the 12.0 campaign, and it showed us that the light could be quite bad. Now, that shouldn't be a surprise. We've seen the, say, Scarlet Crusade, and how light blindness could basically have them killing innocent people. That's the darker side of the light. The Radiant Core may be about to tell us how good, how strong the light can be. You see, when Anduin Wrynn witnessed Beladar...
Man, what happened with this? What happened with Beladar? What the fuck? We were with this whole light crystal, and I thought we were going to go inside of it at some point. We just left it. Yeah, we'll see you later. We'll tell this story later. There's a lot of that going on in WoW lately. And again, the War Within was kind of a broken expansion story-wise, because Metzen picked it up halfway through and had to kind of diverge it into what became the World Soul Saga. So it's a bit sketchy, all the storytelling that happened there. But And maybe it becomes relevant again here towards the end.
Beldar for the first time, he did not hear the light. He heard the radiant song of the World Soul. So somehow these big light
just
crystals
siphoned energy
stuck
from
in
it,
our
yeah.
planet are now amplifying Azeroth's song. And we actually saw this again with Himusul, another light crystal that was found in the Siren Isle. Yes, the Siren Isle patch actually had really cool lore that ties into everything we're talking about today. Now, call me crazy, but I think this all means we may finally be getting a satisfying answer to what the hell Belladar was in patch 12.2. And it'll likely come from the Light's Vanguard. But let's take the speculation hat off for a second and bring things back to reality. We can't just demand a big wish list of lore answers from Blizzard. So the real question is, how do we, the players, and everyone else who wants Xal'atath stopped, even get to the World Core? I mean, if we know the
Right, we
Radiant
shut the
Core
door.
is a faction, and it seems it's almost certainly in the World Core,
Yeah, we're probably, King, you said it in the chat, probably going back to Dornegal, repairing the core way in some way. If you remember the core way there, it was busted. It like caved in. So I don't know. I guess we fixed the core way in some way and go down that way. Because, yeah, you know, as excited as we were to make the Dawn well, we did kind of shut the door. So we can't really use that anymore.
well, how the hell did we get there? Getting to the World Soul is where we have a bit of a conundrum. I mean, we know who we're going to meet when we get there, pretty much, but getting there will be kind of tough.
Maybe we use, there could be a way where we travel down the routes or something, right? Like we have all of these Haranir route tails and all this other shit going on. Maybe we use the routes to get down there. Could be.
And what's more confusing
So maybe we
is that
don't
it's
go
not
back to
obvious
Dornegal.
how the troll patch of 12.1 brings the World Core into the story. But as it turns out, there are a couple of major clues that I can now relay to you. First, we have Kha'Thix, a Cathaxi general of the Black Empire who was personally unleashed on the early troll empires by none other than Xal'atath herself. Now, he lost that war and was buried under Zul'Aman, specifically buried underneath the Coiled Isle, which is patch 12.1's patch zone.
Right.
So you'd imagine we'll have to fight him down there. You'd imagine he'd be in the raid. But as it turns out, he isn't. Currently, there is no sign of a showdown with Kha'Thix. That seems a bit strange, because ultimately the main threat of this patch, Xal'atath, well, Xal'atath was basically a weapon used to defeat Kha'Thix. So him not being there immediately is a little sus. That means he's either being saved for the patch 12.15 mini-raid, or, what feels a bit more likely, once he's freed from his Imani-made prison, perhaps he'll travel to the World Core to meet Xal'atath. That could be Blizzard's straight connection into the next patch. But there is, of course, something bigger going on in patch 12.1, and that is Xal'atath. She's the big bad of the patch, with lore that pushes against players' expectations. She is not a Loa like the other gods of the Imani. She is basically something darker. And here's the explanation for that. Long ago, during the Troll-Akir War, the Imani just did not have the juice to finally finish off Kha'Thix, so they reached out for power wherever they could find it. And somehow, their witch doctors found the Rift of On, and they sensed its power. They pulled as hard as they could, and what came out was Xal'atath. Basically, a monster, a super weapon, literally spawned from Azeroth's nightmares.
Their nuke.
And you've faced beings like it before. One example is Chimeras, the boss of the Dream Rift raid.
Oh,
now, seeing these half-mad, mega-powerful spawns of the World Soul can mean a few things. I mean, Blizzard has literally made them a raid boss of now 12.0 and 12.1. That certainly means Blizzard is building up the idea that these nightmare monsters from Azeroth are kind of a class of being that we're going to have to deal with. Now, the simple read is this. What happened to Azeroth way back in the day was so bad that these nightmare monsters are the natural consequence of all of that. Or it could be giving us our first look into what an awakened Azeroth might be like. You know, a attacked, imprisoned, and mutated by old gods being that's also had to deal with the Titans, Sargeras, the Jailer, and now Xal'atath. That's complete chaos. So maybe Azeroth will wake up a lot more like Xal'atath.
Yeah, she could be a freaking disaster to wake her up. It's like, could be one of those moments where, you know, she's really hot and everyone and all the guys are like, I can fix her. What if you can't fix her? What if she's just completely mind fucked after all these years of imprisonment and nightmares and everything else? I mean, we've seen what can happen to a world soul when it's been tortured and messed around with The entire time that it's been inside the planet, it was Argus. Argus was completely freaking scuffed up. Now, Argus, like, couldn't talk or anything. He was, like, messed up. He had voice lines and stuff, but he was just, like, mentally fucked by the time we saw him. He had been tortured for freaking centuries. And then, like, Argus's reason for fighting us, it kind of makes sense. At the end of the day, I think us killing Argus was completely a mistake. I mean, you got to remember, Argus was, like, literally being finger popped and tortured inside of his prison for centuries. Then all of a sudden, his, people who are related to his torturers, the Titans, right? He was being tortured by Sargeras and imprisoned and all that shit. He gets summoned up to this Titan pantheon, and the first thing he sees is basically these fucking guys who have been torturing him this entire time, or related to the people who were torturing him this entire time, and a group of players who are ready to kill him. Of course he's going to fight us. He was just trying to survive. So at the end of the day, I think Argus wasn't even a bad guy. He was just completely mind-fucked. He gets summoned up by his torturers, and there we are ready to loot his corpse. So of course he's going to try to kill us. It was awesome. Yeah, it was. It was a cool fight. So that could happen with Azeroth. I mean, we could summon Azeroth or get her out of her prison, and she's completely, like, mind-broken. I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think she's mentally maybe the strongest world soul ever, and so she's going to be just fine. But it could certainly be the case. We get another Xal'atath showing that, there's some messed up shit going down there, too.
Some sort of monstrous deformity, and maybe a lot less like, say, the pure power of whatever, say, the Titans think she would wake up as.
He did kill us, yes, he did.
You may, if you've watched our recent videos on the channel, kinda smell some of those other leaks. And that's because knowing that the Radiant Core exists kinda confirms we're going to be doing Xal'atath, Azeroth, Radiant Song, World Soul stuff. But what it doesn't confirm is what will happen in patch 12.2. Now, the rumor mill suggests it could be Azeroth waking up. We actually know that that was, at least at one point, a plot point that was planned for the War Within.
It was supposed to be the War Within,
so it happening in Midnight wouldn't be a crazy reach. And as much as we could lean in some of those leaks, as it turns out, we don't even have to, because Blizzard have been setting up this stuff in-game for years, right in front of our eyes.
Yep. You've seen this.
The War Within launched with a beautifully rendered cinematic of Anduin and Thrall in Xal'atath.
Yeah.
They'd both been drawn there by the same thing, a song that they were hearing. A song that was calming yet urgent. And many across...
It's funny, the cinematic kicked off the World Soul Saga, but it feels like it's been kind of irrelevant since then.
Azeroth were also hearing that song. And our first experience actually came earlier, though. It was in Dragonflight's patch 10.2.7, where we learned that this thing had a name. The Radiant Song. And Locust Walker warned us that Koresh, his destroyed home planet, which also had a world soul in it, that it sang a similar song before the end. The next thing that happened, though, was the War Within's pre-patch event, where we traveled across the world fighting echoes of Azeroth's past traumas made manifest by the Radiant Song.
Right.
Basically, our world soul experienced everything that ever happened
She was
on
having
the
some
planet,
fever dreams.
and much of that left deep scars, both physical and mental. We then, of course, asked resident world soul expert Magni Bronzebeard what was going on, and he told us that actually Azeroth hadn't spoken to him in years. But we told him to go and give it a try, and when he did, the reason for her silence became clear. You see, in slowly waking up, she had grown so powerful that her voice would destroy Magni. And we actually saw that nearly happen in the Chamber of Heart. That's where Magni got quite the zap. But one thing did actually get through, and that was the location of Khazalgar. So we set off on another Special Forces mission to yet another unknown island. We landed in Khazalgar. We saw that the Radiant Echoes were really strong in Khazalgar. Azeroth was in a way speaking to us, and what she showed us was generally horrifying. I mean, you may have went to those Radiant Echo things to get resources for your character to get more powerful, but what actually plays out in them is pretty rough. Azeroth, as an example, had watched the Ankoan driven into the abyssal depths by the servants of the old gods and being twisted into the Kobis. She felt servants of the Titans dig out immense installations within her. There's Sargeras' blade, which was plunged into the depths of...
There's a sword in the planet? What are we even talking about? Is this cinematic, like, fan-made or something? I don't remember this happening. There's a sword in the planet? It's been there for, like, what, 8 years, and we haven't even addressed it? That'd be ridiculous. There's no way this actually happened. Right?
the world greatly wounding her. All of these things we saw play out and be relived through the radiant echoes. And it's when all this was going down that we then met Orwena. Orwena heard the song louder than just about anybody else. And she ended up fulfilling that role of the speaker of the world within that expansion. Now, the first story revolved around the blood of the old gods, which was turning Azeroth's radiant song into a horrible nightmare. Now, the whole Black Blood storyline seems to be a little on hiatus, perhaps waiting for patch 12.2. But Orwena did bring us, of course, to Harrendar. That's where we discovered the Cradle of Alanhara, and with it, a pre-Titan name for our world soul, Alanhara. That's, I suppose, her original name, with Azeroth being what the Titans called her. And what we also learned is that she was effectively kidnapped. She was taken away from the Cradle and locked into the World Core. That, of course, means she's in the World Core, and she is the one who we'll meet whenever we go down there on our pursuit for Xal'atath. So, take everything I've talked about today and let it be real. Azeroth is down there, we're going to meet her, and when she wakes up, she may not be what we expected. She might be something as unhinged as Xal'atath, but more powerful than anything in creation. Ooh. With that in mind, there is then one more thing you need to see, and that is the setting-defining event that, according to leaks, is waiting at the end of patch 12.2.
There's another leak.
This brings us to the other leak. Not the Radiant Core one, the deeper, more substantial leak. And it is a strange one. I mean, it's a comment on the pet battling subreddit, but it's one from a user with several other leaks. And one of those leaks was actually confirmed by a Blizzard codename showing up. And the thing is, the Blizzard codename showed up way after the leak happened. So,
interesting.
How
this thing
did
again.
they know about Camelot? Perhaps because they knew about other things. And that doesn't guarantee that what's being said about the end of 12.2 will literally happen, but it is basically that Azeroth will, spoiler warning, wake up, and mega spoiler warning, this is really your last chance, that when she does, for whatever reason, she's going to cleanse the world. That could mean a few things. It could mean...
Yeah, does that mean, aren't we part of the world? We're talking about re-origination or something? I don't know. Maybe we gotta fight Azeroth, I have no idea.
Xal'atath gets her, and we're all...
what I really think is, okay, Azeroth wakes up, cleanse the world, bam. The Great Reset. I've talked about it so many times. I literally have a video with like 45K views right now just about the Great Reset. Because I think a lot of people resonate with it. The thought of basically a reset on WoW, back to the basics, we're back to fighting gnolls in Elwyn Forest or something. Like a reset of all things, all systems, all powers. People are so worried about, oh, I'm going to lose my mounts and my shit. I don't think you'll lose your shit. You'll keep your shit. Don't worry. But we're basically going to have like a reset of WoW. Back to the beginning almost. And it could be that Azeroth's Great Awakening and then cleansing of the world is that reset. And then we're just dealing with dragons and forests once again. And kind of a regrounding of the WoW story. Whereas right now it's getting super cosmic, super out there. Like, where do we go from here? We're fighting the Titans. I mean, what happens next? So I think that's what we're going to get is the Great Reset after. Yeah, Guild Wars 2, 3. Yeah, exactly. Guild Wars has done many resets. And I think WoW is it's their turn for one.
Fried by the void. It could mean that the Titans win. The final Titan is born and that she just decides we are unordered slime and we need to be purged. You know, a bit like what Algalon wanted to do back in Ulduar. Or, given Xal'atath, the Rift of Allen, and all that crazy stuff that we've seen with the Radiant Echoes, maybe what wakes up won't be the real Azeroth. Maybe it will be a tortured and twisted world soul. Part void, part order, part Alanhara, her original self, and totally mad. Maybe one ready to wipe existence clean because we're just all that bloody annoying. Couldn't blame her, to be honest. But going back to our leaker, he then tells us that it's all set up for a WoW 2.0.
2.0. Yep.
Now, to be clear, I don't literally mean you downloading a brand new game called WoW 2.0.
No.
But effectively, it's the idea of a narrative reset. One that just kind of ties off all of these big cosmic threads and maybe gets us back to a more boots-on-the-ground situation. So, if you would like a discussion on Azeroth walking amongst us, what happens at the end of the World Soul Saga, and what the hell a WoW 2.0 could even mean, well, click this video next.
There it is. I mean, yeah, it totally makes sense. I think that's what will happen. We'll have the Great Reset occur, and things will go back to normal. JMall Classic Plus will be the reset. Interesting thought. I don't think so, but imagine that's what Blizzard says. Like, hey, retail's ending. Classic Plus is now retail. This is the next version of the game. Probably not. I doubt it. But what I do expect to see is like, yeah, this kind of reset, return to, you know, basically classic WoW, almost. And then that'll be kind of where the game picks up from there. Also, like right now, the starting thing for new players is Dragonflight. After the Great Reset, we'll probably see that the reset point be the starting point for new players. And then Dragonflight and all the other stuff will be in the past. It'll be something else that new players don't even deal with. They just start from the reset point with everyone else. I think it'd be exciting, interesting to see where the story goes. Nice video overall from Bellular.